All right, this is the Velasquez 2014 Mac Summary and Service Objective presentation. Just a quick 10-minute overview of what I've been up to. My name is Joe Manning, and I started with Velasquez back in 2000 as a desktop artist. And then under the tutelage of Tiffany Reeves and Mike Rose, I transitioned into IT. So this year I am Mac support, and I work alongside Tiffany, Mike, Kirk, and Anil. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, there's a really funny show called IT Crowd. It has a bunch of IT jokes in it, but it was instantly my favorite TV show because it closely resembled the team that I worked on with Tiffany, Mike, and then myself. And so it's been a fun experience working alongside them. Last year I was lucky enough to work out of the Houston branch. And so a little bit about Houston and what they had going on. This is their layout, and these red dots represent the Mac seats, Mac users that I basically was helping. This is where they sat. On the bottom here, all these black dots represent the PC users, and so I spent a lot of time helping them out as well. This is where I sat. I was in direct line of sight of the VP, and I sat right in front of the GM, so I was always on my best behavior. And this is what Mac side desktop looked like there in the Houston branch. A lot of basic cubicles. This is where their job tracking system was before it went paperless. That's why you don't see much in there. And this is the Mac Xserve hardware that was in the Houston server room there. The server room, my experience has been that anything with a plug on it that people don't know where to store it ends up in the server room. So when I showed up on site out there, I noticed that everything was disorganized, and so I started basically gathering everything and organizing it, figuring out what worked and what didn't, and tried to clean out the server room so it was nice and accessible for any network work that may have had to been done in there. Right under that particular room on the next floor was the battery backup room, and this also was treated kind of like as a tech graveyard. So anything with a plug on it that died or no one knew who it belonged to or knew where to put it, they would store it in here. And so there was just junk stored upon junk, and so I started organizing this stuff to basically first make it to where you could walk around in there, and then I started just organizing everything, make it easy to get to what you needed to. So I started storing things in the drawers there. So we had like extra hard drives, extra laptop bags, power supplies just in case people needed them, old laptops, old monitors that we were testing out to see if they worked or didn't. Any kind of cables I would find, like video cables, power supplies, networking cables, extra docks, extra keyboards, tons of keyboards. Organized all that stuff and put them into the shelves, and then into the drawers there, and then labeled them so you didn't have to dig and open each drawer just to see what was in it, and help make it a little easier to get the parts that they needed whether I was there or not. It was a secured room, but there were certain people that had a badge key in there, and I wanted to make it easy for them to get what they needed. I did take a couple of build a couple complete workstations out of the parts that were laying around, and I installed these in the cube so that way if we ever had visitors or if somebody's hardware went down, they were already up and running at another cubicle if they needed to be. And then at night I worked at Apple as a repair tech and got a lot of great customer experience and just real world scenario experience, seeing how people use their mobile devices alongside their Mac devices and stuff like that. Then I was lucky enough to be invited back to work at the Phoenix branch to help support the Mac team this year. And so this is where I sit. I share a desk with Kuhn, who is also in IT. And this is the Phoenix desktop area, a little bit different from Houston's. As you can see, they don't have the cubicles. It's a little bit more open, so it's better for communication. Instead of walking all the way over to someone's desk, you can see if they were there, so you wouldn't waste your time going all the way over there. This is a typical artist workstation. Right now we have people using the towers there on the bottom right, but we may be transitioning to iMacs, and then we developed a paperless workflow so that everybody has an extra monitor so they shouldn't have to print out as much because they have enough screen real estate to look at documents digitally instead of having to waste toner. This is a typical PC user station here in Phoenix. Two monitors again for the paperless workflow, and then they have a dock so they can easily remove their laptops so they can work from home, and then easily just reseat their laptop in the dock and then start working in the office. It's a lot easier to travel that way. And then we actually have a production warehouse here. As you can see, it's extremely huge and a lot of floor space, but that floor space is taken up by a lot of the product that we make. And so here, if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's a pretty cool look at it when it's going. They move a lot, like millions of sheets of advertising, and organizing is a very, very cool system to see. And so I would help support them too if I could. They also have a maintenance team that does general maintenance, not only on the building, but also on a lot of the equipment that they use for the sorting. and so I help them out too. And then this is the Phoenix server room. It's a lot bigger than the server room in Houston, and just like the server room in Houston, a lot of things will get stored in there. Different people had different access to this room. So again, if people found anything with a plug on it and didn't know where to put it, a lot of times it ended up here. And so in the middle of the paperless project, we got all these monitors to go into all the workstations, so everyone had dual monitors. Tiffany let me jump in and help her finish that off. And then once we got all the monitors installed on everyone's workstation, I got permission to use this room to basically start organizing all the equipment that I could find, just like I did in Houston. So those cardboard boxes against the wall there are where I'm storing things like all the cables I find, whether it be video cables, Ethernet, power supplies, and then just organizing the hardware and cataloging it so we can get it approved for e-disposal, and just looking for anything useful that I can store away that may be needed later. So the Phoenix server room is a lot more cleaner, easier to access. I don't have any junk sitting in there anymore. But there is a server room, a storage room that still has a lot of stuff in it, so I'm still in the middle of going through that. And then here's a picture of the Phoenix Xserve. It's a little bit different. It's a slightly different case, but the same hardware. What I wanted to point out here is that blue light is a tape drive backup. Above that is X-ray setup, but below that you'll see these green dots on that server mounted there. That is the new hardware that Tiffany is setting up alongside with Mike to transition all of our stuff from Mac to PC. This is her installing a SCSI card that communicates with a tape drive backup that backs up the whole system. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the system and how it's kind of organized. There's a lot of data that we basically archive and maintain. Here's just one of the server volumes. The RAID left holds administrative work, art, client art, creative artist art. Live in-home dates is a really important volume because that's where a lot of the jobs are held and processed for the weeks coming up ahead. Mass transit folder there is where the mailboxes are stored that transmit files to the printers, but also helps us receive art from clients. And then packing slip stage and in tech, that's where we keep a lot of the software that we all need access to. And so yeah, we just try and maintain and organize that stuff and make sure it's backed up so that way nothing gets lost. Here's a closer look at the live in-home dates. Again, really important. We use color coding and stuff like that to let us know what is going on. The red here represents 2 previous weeks that have already been moved to the JFR backup and our stuff, so those can get deleted off of the server. Sometimes we'll leave it there just to give artists a little bit more time to get the files if they need. But yeah, we go a couple weeks out, if not a couple months, because that's how far some of the work is in advance. And then when they move out, when that print week is done, we move them into the JFR to be retrieved for backup if they need. We are only technically supposed to have to go back, I think, 2 years, but Tiffany and Mike do a really good job of organizing and doing server space maintenance, and so we've been able to get all the way back to almost 2010 as far as what we hold on to. This is a picture of mass transit. A lot of the help desk tickets that you see come through Mac have to do with this system. It's pretty simple, but does a lot. These are all print vendors that we send to, and here I have highlighted in blue as one of our popular vendors that's trending. And you can see there's actually an error. So what we do is go look at the logs and see what's going on. Usually it is the third-party receiver of the files that's normally down or something, because our systems usually don't change. So when something doesn't work after we troubleshoot, a lot of times it's because something changed on the receiving end. So we got to get on the phone and try and follow up and see what's going on. This is another view or another window of mass transit that shows you what connections are going and where they're at and what progress. A lot of times really huge files will go through the system and choke it up, and then internal clients are wondering like where files are, and so we go in there and see what is being transferred and what stage it's in and give them a report. Home folders is something I wanted to point out because it's pretty cool in the Mac environment. Tiffany set it up to where users actually have home folders and they get backed up. So if we ever had the image of station, that user doesn't lose all their preferences and stuff because they were stored on the servers. That may or may not be going away. They're still in the middle of trying to figure that out on the new hardware as to whether or not it's a benefit to keep or not have. So this is what the server desktop looks like, a lot like a Mac desktop. Here you see we have Time Machine that backs up the servers, but we also use that along with Pre-Store. And then here you see the volumes laid out, home folders, RAID left 2, RAID right. And this is what we're in charge basically of trying to archive and organize. On the PC side, when we have users like the Phoenix graphics coordinators, sometimes they need access to the Mac hardware to get files and stuff. So this is what it looks like. Sometimes we'll have to set up a ticket to go through provisioning to change some stuff in Active Directory to allow these users to have access to the servers. Getting in line with the objectives that were set earlier for us in a previous meeting, one of the objectives was maintain quality service, basically by service tracking. I track myself because I have to give reports to IBM, but we also use the tools like Sherwell and PWA. And so one thing is we like to know, what were the issues, when did they happen, what was the resolution, how fast was it resolved, and we try and organize all this stuff to be able to generate good reports for IBM and through the PWA system for our internal tracking. The second objective was to try and improve client experiences. What my goal is to basically help educate them to understanding how we track and why we track. Because right now we have a lot of shoulder tapping where people just come over and ask me for help, so they try and bypass the help desk system. And so sometimes I'll work on an issue for an hour, but it's not properly tracked because they wouldn't create their, they wouldn't email the help desk and then get a record of when, a timestamp of when the issue occurred and how long it took me to respond and stuff like that. Normally what happens now is I just walk over, troubleshoot, solve on site, take notes, and then I'll come back later and create the ticket so that way there's at least a record that something was done. My goal is to educate the branch to understand how the help desk actually works and why we have to do it that way so we can get these metrics to be able to improve our performance. Objective 3 is to transform and build alongside a support team. So that's the whole point of this presentation, is to teach other teams kind of what we do, but also to hopefully learn from other teams what they do so we know what their support abilities are, so I know where to forward help desk tickets, or if a problem generates natively here and I'm talking to someone right away, I know how to create the ticket and who I need to assign it to so it can be taken care of. And then the last objective was to grow. Software is always changing and hardware is always changing, so always trying to learn and stay on top of it. Right now, we are looking at learning some new software for the Casper Suite. So I've been taking notes on that and also teaching myself some of the new stuff going on in Mavericks, and I'm going to take and share those notes with my teammates and make them accessible to anyone on DevSide if they're curious more about, learning more about the Mac environment. I'll put that stuff out there so that way it'll help the team grow. And that's pretty much what's been going on. So I thank you for your time, and hopefully if there's anything else you need to know, feel free to contact me, and I'll be looking to probably make some presentations available each quarter, just kind of go over what kind of things have been going on and keep everybody up to speed as to what's been going on Mac side. Thank you.